In Leviathan, Thomas Hobbes makes an interesting but radical point. Where there is no government, what is good and what is evil depends on each individual person's likes or dislikes. He writes, "But whatsoever is the object of any man's appetite or desire, that is it which he for his part calleth good, and the object of his hate and aversion, evil. For these words of good, evil, and contemptible are ever used with relation to the person that useth them, there being nothing simply and absolutely so. They are taken from the person of the man, where there is no commonwealth." In other words, where there are no laws, there is no absolute standard for good or evil. Each person defines these terms for himself based on what he likes or dislikes. This was a radical idea at the time. Up to that point, the teachings of Aristotle dominated the universities, and a large part of his teachings dealt with moral philosophy. This was considered one of the highest sciences and was the study of good and evil, dubbed back then virtue and vice. In the science of this moral philosophy, thinkers like Aristotle would divide human actions into those that were virtuous or good and those that were vicious or evil. They claimed that acting virtuously or being a good person had value in and of itself, and that those who were good would be happy and honored because of it, while those who were bad would not. But Hobbes says, no. The foundation of this science of good and evil to him was very wishy-washy. These philosophers weren't discovering objective truths about what is good and what is evil. They were just describing what they personally liked or disliked. Hobbes writes, "Their moral philosophy is but a description of their own passions. For the rule of manners, without civil government, is the law of nature. They, Aristotle and the other philosophers, make the rules of good and bad their own liking and disliking, by which means, in so great diversity of taste, there is nothing generally agreed on." Hobbes wanted moral philosophy to be more exact. He believed it should operate like mathematics and the other sciences, where every conclusion rests on clear definitions that everyone can agree on. So using reason, he set out to define what true philosophy actually is. In other words, he sought to define what is truly good and what is truly evil. And he first reforms the framework of the argument. He says that actions are not good or evil in and of themselves, but are only good if they promote peace and well-being, and they're evil if they promote the opposite. So good actions are those that promote peace, and evil actions are those that promote war. With this framework, Hobbes lays down what he calls the laws of nature. These are rules discovered through reason that always lead to peace and safety for the people and societies that follow them. They are rules that are always true. And because they're always true, for Hobbes, these rules are the only true foundation of moral philosophy. He writes, "Now the science of virtue and vice is moral philosophy, and therefore the true doctrine of the laws of nature is the true moral philosophy. But the writers of moral philosophy, though they acknowledge the same virtues and vices, yet not seeing wherein consisted their goodness, nor that they come to be praised as the means of peaceable, sociable, and comfortable living, place them in a mediocrity of passions." So again, earlier philosophers thought virtuous actions were good because they were good in and of themselves, while Hobbes says they are good only because they promote peace. So what were these natural laws that Hobbes gave, which he calls the only true moral philosophy? He first defines a natural law as a precept or general rule found out by reason, by which a man is forbidden to do that which is destructive of his life, or taketh away the means of preserving the same. And he gives 19 of them, which I'll put on the screen now, and you can pause if you like to read them all. The common thread between all of these laws is that they lead to peace in all circumstances, and Hobbes summarizes them in one sentence, writing, "And though this may seem too subtle a deduction of the laws of nature to be taken notice of by all men, they have been contracted into one easy sum, intelligible even to the meanest capacity, and that is, do not that to another which thou wouldst not have done to thyself." These laws, Hobbes says, mark the beginning of the only true moral philosophy. They are good not because the actions themselves are good, but because when men follow them, they lead to peace and well-being in society. But of course, these laws are useless without a power to enforce them. Hence, men agreed to form the institution that we today call government, and they agreed to give government the power and authority to punish those who break the law. And out of fear of this punishment, men generally obey the law and consequently are able to live in peace with each other. If you are interested in learning more about this theory of government, then make sure to check out my prior video, and if you're interested in learning more about philosophy, then make sure to subscribe so you can follow along, and I hope to see you in the next episode.